Hello and welcome to Dear Comms, the coffee break podcast where we tackle your biggest corporate comms challenges. I'm Imogen.
And I'm Amanda. We're here to give you practical, no-nonsense advice so you can focus on the things that really drive influence, engagement and impact. And this is the final episode in our crisis series, and it's a big one.
A big one in the fact that we're going to be wrapping everything that we've talked about over the previous 4 episodes and bringing it all together into one episode. So let's see how we can do that within 15 minutes. We're going to look at messaging, we're going to look at structure, leadership, listening, recovery, but it's all about that sort of big picture. We would call this, I guess, our 10 golden rules of crisis management.
Or your go-to kit bag. These rules don't just help you communicate better, they help your whole organisation behave better under pressure. So let's jump in. Golden rule number 1 is be prepared.
And it's a good place to start. So how do you prepare for a crisis? Well, you are prepared. It sounds really obvious, doesn't it? But you really need to have a crisis plan in place and you need to make sure that it's up to date.
It's amazing how many companies don't have a basic plan. And you know what they say about preparedness. So make sure you're doing a regular risk audit. What are the controlled versus uncontrolled crises your business could face? You know, what are the different scenarios? And then prepare your likely spokespeople. Keep an up-to-date media pack, photos, company video, all the facts about your business. Yeah. Are you reviewing your stakeholder lists? And are your holding statements ready to go?
And don't forget to practice. Crisis and crisis communications isn't something that you just make up as you go along.
Absolutely.
You need to have practiced what it is you're going to do and what it is you're going to say. A well-prepared team won't panic in the face of adversity. They will act. So once you've got that preparation in place, what's the second golden rule of crisis management? Well, we put it together as tell it all, tell it early, tell it yourself.
Yeah, the moment you lose control of the narrative, you're playing catch up. And that's where mistakes creep in.
Yeah, you need to be in control of that story from the start. You can't wait. Even if you don't have an answer to every question, you can set out, here's what we know, here's what we're doing, here's when you're going to hear from us next. There should be no spin. There should be no dodging of questions. You really have to provide clarity.
If you stay silent, others are going to fill the gap and they're really not likely to get it right. So make sure that you are ahead of the game and say what you can say.
Yeah, I think, you need to tell the truth and you need to take responsibility if you need to, which of course is different from admitting liability for an issue.
Yes, it's all about ownership, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So golden rule number 3, that's our 4 C's from episode 3. So that's concern, control, clarity, and commitment.
So this is your gut check, I guess. This is something you always rely on when it's coming to crisis comms. So you need to show concern for those impacted or affected by the crisis. You need to demonstrate that the organization is in control and is doing everything possible to address that problem. You need to speak with clarity. So no jargon, no acronyms, no woolly words that don't mean anything. And then finally, you have to show commitment to not only fixing the issue, but also updating people on what's happening and on how you're going to prevent it happening again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this isn't just a message structure. I think it's a mindset. And it's not just about empathy, it's about trust. I mean, people want to know that somebody is at the helm and it's not going to happen again.
Yeah. The worst thing is that if people think that the company is rudderless and that no one's actually driving things forward.
So, Imogen, golden rule number 4?
Golden rule number 4 is quite a mean one, but isolate your crisis management team. Lock them in a room. During a crisis, you need that A team laser focused. That means that they can't be distracted by random meetings or the day-to-day job. They need to step away and be totally focused on the crisis at hand.
It also means having deputies ready to cover the day-to-day as well as backup for cover, because you'll never know. You might be dealing with this 24/7, and particularly if you're an international, multinational company, you could be working around the clock. And I think you're absolutely right. A dedicated room, I mean, that could be virtual or physical, where they can work and work fast is really important.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be a dungeon, but has windows and coffee and things. But yes, somewhere where you can close the door, I guess, metaphorically or literally. And it's a place where people know not to go in and disturb with the banalities of office life.
Golden rule number 5, define roles and responsibilities.
And I think this is a rule which doesn't just impact crisis management and crisis comms. This is for any project or anything you're doing. Who is leading? Who is signing stuff off? Who approves the messages? Who is listening to what's being said outside of your little room? Who is the spokesperson? Who is talking to key stakeholders? Chaos loves confusion. If you don't know who's doing what, chaos is going to have a ball.
Yeah, you're right. You have to make things crystal clear, and don't assume that everyone knows, even if they've done it before, because roles can shift quite quickly in high stressing moments.
Rule number 6, social media. It's there even if you're not. It's so tempting to avoid anything to do with social media if you're going through a crisis. The problem with doing that is that the conversation's still happening. Even if you're not there, even if you're not looking, even if you're not saying something, that conversation is happening without you.
You don't have to be a TikTok pro. I'm clearly not.
Clearly not.
But you do need to be present and, don't shy away from it. Use it to inform, not argue. Monitor it, respond quickly, and stick to your message. I think it's really important that social isn't where the nuance lives. So save the detail for longer formats. Move people off social into another format. One of my favourite rules is the next one, number 7, listen as well as speak.
Yeah, and this kind of links in with the social media rule as well, isn't it? It's about not only sharing information, but it's also about listening to what's being said, by whom, and also what they're not saying. So understanding, what's being understood, what's being misunderstood, what is being spread fast internally, externally. But you need to listen to be able to understand that.
Yeah, we mentioned in episode 3, I think, a case where we saw a rumour go viral because it hadn't been acknowledged early. So listening lets you fix the gaps in your messaging and narrative and helps you adapt in real time.
Absolutely. So if listening to what people are saying is your favourite rule, mine is number 8, which is be human, a mantra that I chant.
I'm smiling
regularly.
As you say it.
Chant regularly to everybody. I don't think that this can be repeated enough. Humans like other humans. If your tone is robotic, cold, legalistic, you're just not going to be heard or listened to.
Yeah, as you said, people trust people. So your leaders have to speak like humans. A line to test is, would I say this to a friend who was affected? If not, you rewrite it. Golden rule number 9, bring in the experts.
Yes, both Amanda and I like this one.
That's true.
The fact is that, we know that comms teams are stretched. We know that budgets are stretched. But sometimes the comms team doesn't have a bandwidth or doesn't have the knowledge, experience, or perspective to be able to manage a crisis successfully. And that's where your external support matters.
Exactly. I mean, crisis consultants, they bring fresh eyes and they bring war stories too. They're not emotionally tied to your reputation. I think that really helps when decisions get hard. And they can speak truth to power because they're not going to run the risk of perhaps, having an impact on their career in a way.
There's no politics to play with
no, not at
an
all.
external consultant. And I know that can sometimes be really frustrating to people
Massively.
when you're working in-house, because, and I've absolutely had this experience, you've given your counsel, your advice, and everyone ignores it. But bring in someone external and they give exactly the same advice, and everyone's like, "Oh, this is the best idea ever."
It's good they're paying for it, Imogen.
Yeah, and it can be so frustrating if you're in-house, and I think can make you a little reticent to bring in external help. But anyone who you bring in is there to support you and make you look better and help you do your job, not to bring glory on themselves. So, give a thought about it.
Yeah. And then last but not least, golden rule number 10, internal communications is everything.
I've been saying this for years, but it's the key to your success in any crisis or issue. Employees should never hear bad news on their way to work. They should always hear it from the team first. They are your most powerful advocates, but they are also the one where there's the most risk involved, because if you don't have your employees on side, then you have huge reputational issues potentially.
Yeah. If they're informed, they are more likely to support you. If they're left in the dark, they'll start speculating. So give them the facts, give them reassurance, and be empathic towards them.
Yeah. It all goes back to that humanity, isn't it? You
Yeah.
know, we're all people at the end of the day. So let's start treating each other with a little bit of kindness. You may have been, having gone through all those rules at sort of breakneck speed, you might be asking yourself, how do they all connect back to what we've been talking about for the previous 4 episodes? So episode 1 was really about spotting the risk. Episode 2 was about managing the pressure when you're in the middle of it. Episode 3 was about messaging, especially when you're under fire from all sides. And episode 4 was the recovery and the evaluation after the fact. So these 10 rules are kind of your red thread that run through each of those stages of a crisis. So it's about preparation. It's about the tone that you're taking. It's about the little things you need to do. And it's about how you build trust in the middle of a firestorm.
Yeah, exactly. Because crisis isn't just a communications test. It's a leadership one. And in done right, it can be a huge turning point. A crisis may hurt your reputation, but how you handle it really can build long-term credibility.
And it's a team sport. Crisis you should not be sitting as a comms professional. You should be not be sitting in an office on your own at midnight trying to deal with a crisis. You need to have your team.
And have your manual, your crisis manual, train your people, listen to stakeholders, and when the pressure hits, lean on these 10 golden rules.
If you've got a crisis that's going on, if you've got a question that maybe you'd like our advice on, do drop us a note on LinkedIn. Don't forget to share and like the podcast with...
Yeah, we like that.
We do like that. We're simple beings, and we like a bit of validation. But until next time, thanks very much.
Goodbye.